we're not really in the place we wanted to be to start having babies. Like, I posted that picture and people started asking me, are you pregnant? And I found it really offensive. Are you trying to say I'm fat? You actually have a dream where you know the gender of your baby. So I wanted to give my child a name of a character that I loved so much in Grey's Anatomy. Hi my loves, welcome back to my channel. Maddie here. How you doing? I am so excited. The last video I posted on this channel was the first video I posted in like a year. I got like extra 12 subscribers from that video. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the last video. Thank you for coming back to watch this one. I love you so much. Do well to like, comment, and share this video. Please do subscribe. Yeah, it's really fun over here. I promise you won't regret it. On that note, let's get to the business of today. So today I'm going to be telling you guys all about my pregnancy journey. I found that I was pregnant at 5 weeks. Started feeling a bit sicky. I started having night sickness. I started feeling warm during the evening. Like around 4 p.m. I would notice my nostrils would get clogged. So at work I told one of my friends, Wizzy, I told Wizzy that I feel a bit sick, and she was like, go and do pregnancy test. That's the first thing anyone would just tell you once you're married and you're living with your husband. So I was like, whatever, I'm not pregnant. So it just continued like that for a week, and I noticed my period was late. I was like, okay, something is not right. So I was like, if I'm actually pregnant, I want to check it on a very special day. So on the 18th of March, which is my birthday, I took the test very early in the morning because I was very impatient. So I took the test and it came out positive. So I showed my husband and he was like, are you serious? So we're just both so excited. But to be honest, as at that time that happened, we were not really in the place we wanted to be to start having babies. We're still looking for a house. My husband was still trying to settle in the UK. But you know what? We didn't even for 1 minute think, oh, this is not happening at the right time. We're just like, we're just like happy. We're starting our own little family. It was just so exciting. But then after a couple of days, reality started to hit us. Like, we are still in this house. We're not gonna have this baby in this house. Yeah, that first few weeks was a bit rough for us. We started searching for a house. Like initially we were looking for like 1-bed apartment for just the two of us. Now that the baby was on the way, we started looking for 2 because we were planning to have one of our moms come help. It was a bit rough, but it was fine at the end of the day. Like, I'm so grateful to God that happened. First trimester generally is not the best trimester, to be honest. Everyone knows this. First trimester is the trimester you feel like rubbish. You feel absolute rubbish. I was feeling sicky, nauseous. The worst part is when I open my fridge, I would throw up for like. The funny part was I wasn't throwing up, like I wasn't vomiting, but I would just keep going and nothing will come. Sometimes I would do that for straight 5 minutes non-stop, and it was just very draining and tiring. I felt really sick here. I took some time off work, to get myself and get back. Now this picture, I took it in my first trimester. Let's just say at my 8 weeks. Obviously at 8 weeks, nothing is showing. The only thing showing at this time was bloating. So I was so bloated that people started, when I posted that picture and people started asking me, are you pregnant? And I found it really offensive. Are you trying to say I'm fat? Because yes, I'm pregnant, but it's not noticeable yet. So if you're asking me if I'm pregnant, it means you're indirectly calling me fat. I don't know if it was my hormones that was just driving me insane, or I was just like really not having it. I just ignored most people. And then I sarcastically answered a few people and they kept on pressing. Like, they didn't get that I was being sarcastic and upset at the question they were asking me. They kept on going, so I just stopped answering them. Today, one of the persons that happened with, it doesn't talk to me. But I just was not having it. Honestly, let me just put this out there. When you see a newly married couple, please just give them a break. The first thing you're going to ask them is, are you pregnant? I mean, I've never even done that to anyone before. I don't know why people think it's okay for you to see someone who's put on weight after getting married and you just bluff it in their face like, oh, you're pregnant. You shouldn't do that, except they bring up the conversation. I don't know. I don't feel like it's right, except they like bring out the conversation like, okay, I'm pregnant, then you can have that chat. But if they've not brought out that up, please don't, because sometimes you don't know what they're going through. Maybe they're trying to conceive and it's not happened yet, or maybe they just put on weight and they're trying to control their weight. Just a lot of things that could be going on at that time that, you know, they are not voicing to you. And then when you come and bluff it in their face like, oh, you look pregnant, it's not the first thing they want to hear. It's not what they want to hear. They're probably going to feel insecure. They're going to feel like, oh, you're saying you're fat. Please, it's not very nice. I just want to put this out there. Now let's get back to it. So that was one of the things I encountered in my first trimester that just really threw me off. So yeah, about the announcement. So announcing my pregnancy was a bit tricky. One is because now I work in an anesthetic department, so I work in the theater a lot. Most of the drugs we use in the anesthetic room is not safe for pregnancy. It's not safe for pregnant women. Mostly the vaporized anesthetics. X-rays, we do some surgeries with X-ray. They're not safe. So I wanted to keep my pregnancy within just me and my husband until after first trimester. Then I begin to share the news. But I realized that if I was going to do that, I was going to be putting my baby in harm's way. So I had to inform my manager so that if they allocate me to do some X-ray cases, I could opt out. Like I could tell them, no, I can't do this because I'm pregnant. But if I don't tell them, I cannot do that. I cannot just say, oh, I don't want to do this case. I don't have that, you know, I don't have that luxury to choose the cases I want to do or not, except I have good explanation to why I do not want to do them. So I had to tell my manager, which wasn't what I wanted to do, but I had to do it because I had to protect myself and my baby. So I told the manager that I was pregnant, so she had to reshuffle most of the list I was allocated to that week and then the weeks ahead. So she had to inform people that were coordinating the shift, to tell them that if I say I'm not comfortable with the shift, you know, stuff like that, manual handling, a lot of things were just, you know, trying to put in place for my safety and the safety of my baby. So because I told my manager, I felt like, of course, my manager was going to tell the people who are going to coordinate the shifts. And I have friends at work who didn't know that I was pregnant. I didn't want them to hear it from side talk, because obviously people were going to start talking. And I didn't want them to find out that I was pregnant from other people. So I told them. So when that happened, it just complicated the whole thing of keeping the pregnancy after first trimester. So at this point, I literally told people I was pregnant at 5 weeks. It's odd. It's not something I would do if you know me very well, but I had to do it because of my job. So I started feeling that I was like, I've told my friends at work and I've not told my parents. How will I tell my friends at work and I won't tell my family in general? So I was like, I just told my husband, let's just tell everyone. So I sent the results to my mom, I sent the results to my mother-in-law, and they were just so happy. We got on phone and they were like, how are you feeling? You know, blah 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 blah, you know, the whole pregnancy brouhaha. So in general, my announcement didn't happen how I wanted it to happen. I had to do that because of my job. So that was how the announcement went. Another thing was the food aversion. I dreaded meat. I was always eating like veggies and fruits, and I couldn't have meat with my food. I only threw up once. No, it wasn't once. I threw up a couple of times, but it wasn't like a recurring thing. It's something I can remember how many times. It's not something that happened a lot. So the one that stuck to my head was the one that happened on my way to work. I threw up in a bus after I had one of my vitamins. I hate drugs, and my husband knows this. He hates this about me. I hate drugs so much. So that morning he kept on nagging, and he was like, okay, he wasn't nagging, because if he hears that I say he's nagging, he's gonna get pissed. So but anyway, he really got upset and was like, you need to start taking your drugs seriously, take your iron tablets, you know, blah 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 blah. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take the iron tablet this morning. So I took it and I got on the bus. So I burped and I could perceive the whole drug like in my nose, and my system just went like crazy. So I threw up in the bus. Like one lady that was sitting next to me, she kept on giving me her tissue paper until she ran out of tissue paper. I threw up, and it was just bad that the bus driver had to stop and change the bus. The most embarrassing experience of my life. I had to actually make a TikTok about it. Like, it was so embarrassing. Like, it was early morning, people were trying to get to work, and I have gone to like make a huge mess on the bus. So we had to like stop, and everyone got out of the bus, and we had to wait for like 20 minutes for another bus to come and pick us up. Yeah, that was one of my most embarrassing moments in first trimester. The second trimester was breezy. Second trimester is everyone's favorite trimester, and of course it was also mine, because second trimester is the trimester you find out the gender of your baby, you do your glucose tolerance test, just, you know, your baby is growing, the viability is stronger now, and you know, you're happier to tell more people about your pregnancy, you're beginning to show your bump, your cute bump is. Second trimester is just the exciting trimester, to be exact. Okay, so my second trimester, then we found the house. We got a house, so we moved. My husband got a job, so things were beginning to, you know, make sense. We're beginning to settle in really well. So we also went for glucose tolerance test. So today we're going for our glucose test. I'm feeling very positive because I haven't been eating a lot of sugary things. Baby, what do you think? Do you agree with me? So I'm quite positive. I don't think I'm gonna I think I'm gonna pass. Yeah, but I don't know. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But I'm quite excited. So I passed my glucose test, and I'm so excited. I actually knew I was gonna pass my glucose tolerance test because I couldn't stand sugary food. Okay. What is it, Papa? Baby. Okay, so I knew I was going to pass my glucose tolerance test anyway because I couldn't stand sugary food. Like, what happened was, whenever I had a sugary food, it leaves like a taste in my mouth that is just very bad, so I couldn't stand sugary food. So I knew I was going to pass my glucose tolerance test. So when it actually passed, I wasn't surprised. So yeah, I passed my glucose tolerance test and I was really excited. Then my bump started to show, shapes started coming out, my face obviously started changing, my nose started getting bigger. People were like, you're definitely having a boy. Now I'm gonna tell you a story. Me and my friend, I spoke to her on phone, so we're talking about the gender. She was like, have you had a dream what it would be? I was like, is that a thing? She said, yes, you actually have a dream where you know the gender of your baby. So that thing she actually said kind of registered. So I had a dream and it was a boy. I didn't tell my husband, I didn't tell anyone because I actually wanted it to be a girl. I already had a girl name, but because of that dream I had, I made sure to not shop any girl clothes. I wanted to do a gender review. I didn't want to find out the gender until then, so I was already shopping because I had to shop, yeah. But because of that dream, I didn't tell anyone about the dream, so I started shopping like gender neutral clothes. To tell you that your mind sometimes plays a trick on you. There were a lot of clothes I actually got that were boy clothes. During that phase, I had a lot of colleagues that would be like, oh, you're definitely having a boy. I can see your bump is low, because now they say that if you have a low bump is a boy, if you have a high bump is a girl, and they say like if you like salty food is a girl, if you like salty food is a boy, and if you like sugary food is a girl. And obviously I couldn't stand sugary food, like I mentioned earlier. It was just salty. I really loved spicy salty food. I was carrying very low, so a lot of people were like, you're definitely having a boy. At some point I was just like, okay, you know what, let me get a girl name and a boy name just to be prepared, because it's like the Lulu is not working. So for the name, I did something very cheeky. My son would have had a very funny name. I think it was just hormones. So I wanted to give my child a name of a character that I loved so much in Grey's Anatomy, Derek. If you watch Grey's Anatomy, you know Derek. Derek is like one of the best neurosurgeons in the world of Grey's Anatomy, okay? So I told my husband was Derek. What's that? What does that mean? I told him, oh, the name. I didn't tell him why I wanted the name, because if I said it was because of the character I loved in the show, he would not agree. So I just told him because of the meaning of the name. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds nice. So I had the name Derek. So I was talking to a patient, and the patient was like, do you have a name for your baby yet? I told her that I have like a girl and a boy name because I haven't found out the gender yet. So the girl name I told her, she was like, oh, that's a really nice name. And the boy name, when I said Derek, she was like, huh? Derek? That's an old man's name. So that thing really like affected me. I felt really bad. I was like, am I going to give my son an old man's name? Then I started remembering the different Dereks I've known in my past. That was how that name went out of the book. I had to go back to my drawing board again to start looking for a boy name. So eventually I was like, what's a better name to give him than the names of people actually in my life? He's gonna have his dad's name and my brother's name, because my brother is really close to me and I love my husband so much. So I was like, these are the two people in my life. Hi, Papa. At that time, I was beginning to assess my reality that my first child was gonna be a boy. So I was just becoming I was now romanticizing the whole first child being a boy thing. So that was that on the naming. So now it was time to go find out the gender of the baby. So after the glucose tolerance test at 20 weeks, we went to do the anatomy scan. This is a scan where they go in depth to check every aspect of the baby. So they are going to be checking the gender, they are going to be checking if she has ovaries, if it's a girl, or if he has testicles, if it's a boy. And then they are going to be checking for his heart, the chambers of the heart, you know, every detail. They are checking his stomach, his liver, his kidney. They're checking everything. They go in depth. It's quite a long appointment. We're going for 20 week scan today, where we find out the gender of the baby. So when we finished, I told the lady that I don't want to know the gender of my baby because I wanted to do a gender review, but my husband was not in. He wanted to know the gender there and then, like he's not patient like me. So of course she listened to me because I didn't want to find out the gender of the baby. So when she was actually checking for the gender, she told me to look away. I looked away, but my husband was still peeking. He didn't want to look away, although he claimed he saw it, but I don't think he actually saw it, because I think the woman noticed that he wasn't in on it. So she was being very careful. So when she found out the gender, when she printed the paper, she stapled it around to make sure that you cannot, maybe if I keep it, he will not sneak and see it without me finding out that he has actually foreseen it. So he was just telling me, oh, I know it's a boy. I was like, I know you don't know, because if you know, if you're sure, the way you will say it is not the way you're saying it. So I knew he was just playing mind games with me, yeah, boy. But eventually he won. So let me now get to the story of the gender reveal. So we went for our photo shoot. The gender reveal, I wanted it to be quite intimate, just me and my husband and the photographer, where we find out and then she captures the moments. Yeah, I think now going back, I'm thinking that I should have done the, you know, the one where people wear t-shirts and paint, and then they paint themselves. So when they blindfold them and then they touch their hands in paint and touch on the white t-shirt, and then when they remove the blindfold, you see the color on their body. Okay, that's what I would have done, but I didn't think of that. I decided to go for the balloon. So we sent the props to Wizzy, the balloon and everything for the gender reveal. So, and I sent also that paper that has the gender in it. I sent everything to her to actually prepare. Now the funny thing is, I didn't tell my husband that if we pop the balloon and it's blue, it's a boy. I just thought he would know. I mean, anybody would know that if it's blue, it's a boy, and if it's pink, it's a girl. So now let me get down to the gist, alright? So when we got there, so Wizzy had already prepared everything, but she couldn't get what they call that gas, baby, helium gas, abi. What is it? Okay. So she couldn't get the gas to help it float. Yeah. In that period where we're fiddling with the balloon and trying to fix it, the balloon popped. Okay, so you popped and it was blue and it was a boy. Now the funny thing is, I was disappointed, Wizzy was disappointed, but Wizzy's husband and my husband didn't even know what gender it was. And my husband on his own, and he said he was looking for the paper where they wrote boy. Like, the blue was not enough. I think he didn't know that, you know, he felt like, yes, something was going to come out, but he thought that he was going to see a paper that says boy or girl, not knowing that it was the color that would identify with. I don't know, these men are not on social media, because if you're on social media, you will know that blue is for boy. So we didn't really have a proper gender review, but it was still a gender review, just that it wasn't photographed or videoed because it happened accidentally. So second trimester was just really enjoyable. It was super easy, super breezy, it went by really fast. At this time, I've gotten really big. My hips began to hurt. Everywhere began to hurt so bad. Like third trimester, I'm not feeling sick anymore. I'm not having food aversion anymore. I can eat anything now. I started eating a lot, so I put on a lot of weight. If I walk from here to here, I will start panting like I ran 100 miles. Honestly, I had no single stretch mark. My bump was as smooth as a button. Like there was no single stretch mark on my bump, and I was just enjoying it. I was just making loads of videos of my bump. I was dancing. I did a lot of TikTok, because people kept on telling me, oh, don't get too excited. In the last few weeks you get really big at that time, like you get really big really fast, and that is when the stretch marks show. Actually, yes, I did get really big really fast, but still there was no single stretch mark. Like, I was blessed with a very smooth bump, and it just made me so happy. It made me so happy. So everywhere began to hurt. At that time, I started packing my hospital bag. I started trying to do like some transitions that I can, you know, complete when the baby arrives. Like, everything was now becoming really nice, until I went for one appointment and they told me that I had proteinuria. I called my sister. I told my sister was like, because in the beginning of my pregnancy, the midwife was like, I should ask my mom and my sisters how their pregnancies have been. That is usually things really happen like that in pattern. Like, once it happens to this person in your family, it happens to this person as well. So I called my sister. My sister did actually confirm that she had proteinuria in her own pregnancy, but that the midwives in Nigeria didn't make a fuss out of it. But me, the proteinuria kept on increasing. It kept on increasing from 60, like from 30 above the normal range to literally 100 above the normal range. Okay, so they were really worried. My midwife was really worried, so they kept on booking. Like, I was not having like several appointments, like weekly. They were coming in to check me. They agreed that the day I clock 40 weeks is the day he's going to induce me. Okay, so around my 38 weeks, I saw a trickle down my leg, which is like a drip of water, yeah, down my leg one very early morning. So my husband has already gone to work, so I took a picture of it. I sent to him. I was like, oh, call the hospital real quick, this might be it, this might be the water. I called in and they asked me the consistency of the water, the color, the way it dropped. I explained everything. So the person that picked my call was like, oh, that I shouldn't worry, that it's nothing, that she thinks it's a watery discharge, that I should put a pad on, and if the pad soaks, that I should call them back. I had the pad on for 24 hours, nothing happened, it was dry, I took it off. So I didn't call them back, they didn't check on me, but something in me kept on telling me that that thing was not normal, that trickle. So at all my appointments, I kept on mentioning it to them. I was like, I don't feel very safe with that trickle that happened that day. So they just kept on reassuring me that it's nothing. I was getting scared that maybe my pelvic floor muscles are too weak now, that I cannot hold urine anymore, which is not good. I wasn't just set to that at all. So all my appointments, I kept on mentioning it to them. So one faithful appointment I had on my 39th week, I mentioned it to them, to the midwife, and she was like, oh, if you're worried, ask them to do a test to check if the amniotic fluid has actually gone. So they can actually do a test. It's like a vaginal swab. They put a swab there, test it to see if they would detect the amniotic fluid there. So I went into the hospital the next day. I got there and I was like, I'm worried about this. Someone has advised me that I should ask you guys to do a vaginal swab and check if it's amniotic fluid or not. They were like, oh, we're sure it's nothing, don't worry. I was like, I just want it to be done. Like, let it be done, so I'll be at peace with myself that I've done all I could. And they were like, okay, fine. So they did the swab, they checked it, and lo and behold, there was amniotic fluid detected. So that day I was induced. So they didn't let me go back home. They started apologizing. Oh, maybe the first person you called should have actually called you to come in so we could test it. I'm like, let's not throw blames around, let's just do what is meant to be done. So that was how I was admitted that day. I called my husband to come in, that I was admitted, and they were going to induce me that particular day. So that was actually how everything went down in my third trimester. Everything was just great at the end of the day. So yeah, my next vlog would be my birth vlog. Okay, so do make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed, because that one is going to be very interesting. Okay, so yeah.